Hey everybody, it's Mr. Montgomery. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing a video game headset. Well, that's so you can hear me very, very clear because this has a cool little microphone on it and it's going to record my voice a lot better than my laptop microphone. Okay, this way you can hear me very, very clear. And what I want to do today is start working on our Wilson's review, okay? Because I know some of us are still having trouble with our letter sounds, and some of us are having trouble making sure that we write letters the correct way. So we're going to do a little bit of everything, okay? It's not going to be too long, so don't worry. We're only going to do 4 letters today. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. 4 letters, and that's all. All right. So let's start with our first one. We're going to start with our letter A at the very beginning of the alphabet. Oh, excuse me. So our letter A, right? And of course, we already know how we echo this card. We say A, apple, A. But let's practice that. A, apple, A. Make sure you get the A sound. Let me hear you again. Ready? A. Good. Okay, make sure you're echoing this with me because we all need to practice to make sure we don't forget, even if we are really good at it right now. If we don't practice, guess what? It just kind of pops out of our heads and sometimes we forget. Okay, let's echo this next card. Ready? B, bat, B. Now let me hear you do just the B sound by itself. What sound does the B make? B. Very good. B, B, B. Don't forget that. Say it again. Ready? B. Okay, here's our next letter. C. And let's echo this card. Ready? C, cat, K. Okay, what sound does the letter C make again? K. Good. Make sure. Let me hear it one more time. One more time. What sound does C make? Good. Makes the K sound. Let's go on to our next letter. All right, let's echo this card together. Ready? D, dog, D. So what sound does the letter D make? D. Good. Say, wait, one more time. Good. All right. And real quick, what sound does the letter A make? Ah. And I'm going to throw it in different order. What sound does C make? K. And what sound does B make? B. B. Like bat. B. Good. And how about that letter D? What sound does D make? D. Like dog. D. Hear that D sound in dog. Okay. But now I'm going to flip my camera around back onto my computer and we're going to practice writing these letters. All right, everyone. So let's practice writing our letters. Okay, first, so go ahead and make sure you have your communicator and your dry erase marker. If you don't have those, a pencil and paper is just fine. All right, so first we're going to start with our capital letter A. And we start at the grass line. We go up to the skyline and back down to the grass line. And then we're going to lift our pencil up, go to this plain line, and go across. And there's our capital letter A. Okay, let's do it one more time. Start at the grass line, kind of go up into to the right a little bit, to the skyline, back down and over. Then we're going to lift our pencil up and go across the plain line. Okay? Go ahead and finish filling in this whole line with a capital letter A. And I'll sit here and I will wait for you to do that work. Okay, now if you're all done, let's move on to our lowercase a. If you're still working, guess what? You can hit the space bar and pause the video. How cool is that? And then when you're all set to go, you just hit that space bar again. All right, we're going to move on to our lowercase a. So for this, we're going to make a circle, go around. Once we get back to where we started, we just kind of go back down and out, okay? So we start that plane line, make a circle, meet back where we started, down and out. Okay, a little lowercase a. All right, and that's all. So go ahead and fill up that whole line with a lowercase a. Okay, if you're still working, guess what? You can go ahead and hit that space bar again to pause the video. If not, we're going to continue and we're going to move on to our letter B. Okay, so let's move on to our letter B. And what I'm going to do is start with the capital. We start at the skyline and go straight down. Then we lift our pencil up, go back to that skyline, make a bump at the top that stops at that plane line. See how it just kind of looks like a letter P right here? And then we stop and go back out, around and down with a slightly bigger bump. And we end at the grass line. And we have our capital letter B. So go down from the skyline to the grass line. And we go back up. Make a bump at the top to this plane line. And then stop. And it should look like that letter P. But we're not done yet because we're going to make another bump. I call it the belly. It looks like a belly. And it ends at the grass line. So go ahead and fill up this whole row with the letter B, a capital B, okay? Okay, now if you're still working, just like we did before, you can hit that space bar. If not, we're going to continue. Okay, let's do our lowercase b. Now this is a letter that a lot of friends get mixed up, but that's okay. All right, so what we're going to do is just like with the capital, we're going to start at the skyline, go all the way down to the grass line. And we're going to lift our pencil up, go to that plane line, and just make what I call the belly bump. See, it's just the bottom bump from that capital. We're just taking that bottom belly bump and we're putting it right there. And that's why it goes forward. Okay? So skyline to grass line, pick up the pencil, go to the plane line, and give it that belly bump. Okay? And remember, the bump always goes that way. It always goes forward for the letter B. Always, always, always. Okay, so go ahead and fill up the rest of this line with the lowercase b. Okay, if you're still working on those, guess what? You can hit that space bar and pause the video. And then whenever you're ready, hit that space bar again. But if you're all done, well, we're going to move on to our next letter. After B, we have C, which is nice and simple, and it makes the k sound, right? Oh, real quick, what sound does the letter B make? That letter B makes the. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. What sound? B. Good. B. B. Okay, let's go on to our letter C. Okay, so we're going to start at the skyline, and we kind of curve out, around, down, and we stop right there. Okay, so right at that skyline, right below it, I like to start. Go back, around, down, come back up, and stop. All right, so right below that little skyline, go up a little bit, around, down, and then curve back up, kind of like a plane trying to do a loop-de-loop, but then it stops. Okay, so go ahead and fill up the rest of that top line with a capital letter C. Okay, so if you're still working, just like before, you can hit that space bar. But if you're not still working and you're ready to go on, let's do our lowercase c. See, to me, this is probably one of the easiest letters because it's the same thing, it's just a baby version. So instead of starting at the skyline, we're going to start at the plane line, go up a little bit, around, down, back up, and stop. A little baby one. Okay, same thing, plane line, up a little bit, around, down, stop, and that's it. There's your lowercase c. So go ahead and fill up the rest of the line with the lowercase c. Okay, if you're still working, go ahead and hit that space bar to pause. But if you're all done, let's move on to our next letter. And this is our last letter. So our last letter is D. Now, what sound does D make? Wait, I couldn't hear you. Say it a little bit louder. What was it? Duh. Good. D makes the D sound. So we're going to start with our capital letter D, okay? And just like a lot of other capitals, we start at that skyline and go all the way down to the grass line. And this just has one big bump that goes around, down, into the grass line. Okay? That's our capital letter D. So skyline to grass line, go back up to that skyline and around, down to the grass line again. Okay? So go ahead and fill up the rest of the line with the capital letter D. All right. So let's go on to our lowercase. All right. And our lowercase starts off similar. We start at that skyline and go down to the grass line and stop. We pick up our pencil or marker, whichever you're using. We're going to go back up to that plane line and we make a backwards belly. See how it faces the the plain and the grass. A little backwards belly for a D. Okay, so let's do it again. Skyline to grass line. Pick up your pencil. Go to the plain line and make that backwards belly. Remember, the D faces the, going backwards. It goes that way every single time. That is how we do a lowercase d. Because if we make that belly going forward, it's going to be a B, and we don't want that. Especially if we're trying to write a word like mad. Have to make sure you have that backwards bump, right? M-A-D, mad, because watch this. If we make that belly going forward, it's mab. And mab isn't a word. That just sounds kind of silly. All right, so go ahead and finish filling up this whole line with a lowercase d. All right, guys, and that's it for our phonics practice today. All right, our little Wilson's refresher. Yeah, so that's it. If you are still having some confusion or something, let me know, and I'll try to figure out another way to explain things, okay? I don't want anyone being confused. All right, so I will see you all next time. Have a great day.